Hi, welcome to Clutter Bravado.
Yes, and it's the energy. It's not just about the stuff.
So we should probably just get into it, right?
Let's go.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm well.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. You look great.
Thank you very much.
You're wearing a short sleeve.
It's almost summer. We're getting there.
So close.
I know.
I have a big orange tree in my front yard, and the orange blossoms are coming in, and my whole block smells absolutely incredible.
Oh, that
It's
must
my
be so
favorite
good.
part of spring in Los Angeles, truly. Like from March into April, it's just, it's so sweet smelling everywhere. I just love it.
So tell me a little bit, because you texted yesterday that you were going for a run in Santa Monica.
I went for a run with a bunch of my girlfriends. So I'm in a run club now. We're all doing this like ladies only half marathon, and it's at night, which is going to be really cool. But it was my first time running with the whole group, and we ran in Santa Monica along the beach. It was so cute. The weather was absolutely perfect. The ocean, you could hear it as you were running. I mean, there was something just really spectacular about it. And we also went there at like 9 o'clock in the morning. Now, here's something you should know about me, if you don't already, is that if you were to tell 27-year-old Elyse that she would be so excited to go to bed early on a Saturday night so that she could wake up early and drive to Santa Monica to go run a 5K,
She probably would have laughed.
she
Huh?
would have absolutely not believed you. But like that at 37 is like I was so pumped to do it. I was so excited, and it went well. It wasn't my best time, but it was a really great like experience to do with my girlfriends. So
Nice.
yeah, I'm
And
like I'm a real like run club gal now.
For the few people in New York, I did not ask that question to make you jealous.
You did, didn't you?
I
You're
did a little
so
bit.
sneaky.
I am a little mean, huh?
A little bit.
I know, but I mean, part of it, I wanted to know how it went, and because I love that stretch, I do love that stretch of Santa Monica to Venice.
Yeah, exactly. We ran from where we started. We went down to Venice, which was not that far, and then we went from Venice all the way to the Santa Monica Pier, and then we did a little loop around there, and then like came back down to where we started. So
oh wow, okay, so
yeah.
it is a bit.
Yeah, but it was 5K, my first 5K. Very cool.
Because I used to go drunk from Shutters all the way to Venice and back. And he never felt that big, but that's probably because after a good brunch at Shutters, couple cocktails.
Sure. Mimosas,
There was a pit stop
Bloody
in
Marys.
there was a pit stop in Pittsburgh. A pit stop in Venice because obviously I was parched. And
naturally.
back to the car. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that's what you did yesterday. I get it. I know exactly where you were.
Perfect. No, it was really fun. The weather was great, and my girls were awesome. And I mean, everyone who's been paying attention to the podcast know that I had a pretty big hair journey, like a month or so ago, 2 months ago now. Oh my God, 2 months ago now. And I went to go get my hair cut again and just like trimmed up. So I went to go see Alex at Sally
Alex.
Hershberger. Don't act like that about him.
Oh my God.
You have as much of a crush on him as you think I do. Does
I
that make
think
sense?
you do. I think you do. No, that's too much.
No, but to have a hairstylist who is a babe is like, I mean, your hairstylist is a babe, isn't she?
Not the same.
Okay. But no, I love going to see him. I go to see like Alex at Sally Hershberger. He does an incredible job with my hair. And turns out he's also a runner. So I got to
look at
nerd
that.
out about running stuff.
Perfect.
You're so funny. It's like you're jealous or something. That's
My
so
hairdresser
silly.
is a babe, and guess what? He is also a runner.
What?
Nothing.
You're jealous of him because
Of
he's
course not.
what? What? Because he's like tall and handsome and
Tattooed and
tattooed and
swagger
is a runner and has
good hairdresser.
Yeah.
And he's a runner.
and he's so cool.
And he's so cool. Nah, he's very cool.
Yeah, he's great. And it's also really funny because he doesn't have TikTok. And I don't know. I haven't really talked about my TikTok very much on the podcast. But,
No?
But I have a pretty substantial TikTok following, I would say. I have a little bit of a presence on there. I like it a lot. And I posted a video that I also put on my own page about getting my hair cut by him the first time. And the reveal for it, I posted that video on TikTok and it blew up. It has 500,000 views. And people are just like in the comments the whole time, like, oh my God, who is this guy? So I have to like plug Alex. He's so talented. He's so good at doing my hair. And yeah, and he's just rad. So anyway, but it was really funny to see his reaction to looking
To
at
the TikTok?
Yeah, he's like, oh my God, that's like 500,000 people on there that have seen that. I'm like, yeah, you're a celebrity on TikTok now. He didn't even know it.
Fantastic. I don't have TikTok either.
You don't either?
No.
I've hinted at we've talked to each other on my TikTok before, but I haven't shown your face on there yet.
No.
Maybe I will.
Maybe.
Do you want to come up with a fun TikTok idea?
Me? No, you should probably come up with a fun idea. I'll show up for that. I've literally never been on TikTok.
It's for the best.
I'm probably seeing the amount of time I spend on Instagram already. It's
I know.
enough.
Well, okay, so TikTok is basically like, all of the reels that you see on Instagram?
Yeah.
It's like if those were better and more interesting, that's what you would see on TikTok.
So I could dump Instagram
But also,
and
yeah,
go on
so
TikTok.
Instagram is like so like loaded up with ads and it's so obvious of like how they're trying to get you to view something. And TikTok is a lot more authentic than that, which I really appreciate. But some of the best things that you'll see on Instagram Reels were actually posted on TikTok like 2 weeks before. So.
All right. Well.
Just letting you know.
Yeah. Then maybe I should pick up a book.
I think we should both start reading more.
After the conclusion of that conversation is you guys should pick up a book.
So here's the thing. Our Clutter Bravado Instagram is going to be like updated and everything over the next few weeks, but I am going to take a social media break.
You are?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to do it with me?
And read the book?
And read books?
Like paper?
Maybe.
Printed paper? Mm-hmm. No images? Just word? No, I'm down for it. I need it again.
I think I need a little.
So it's funny because I did that over Christmas, which made me feel really good. And then it's been creeping back up in my life in possibly an healthy amount. So yeah, I'm down for that.
Do you think it's a good idea? Let's do it together.
Okay.
We'll take a little break. I can't. I'm still afraid to remove the TikTok app off my phone. I don't know. After the last time that they deleted it, I'm still scarred by that. So I'll leave it on there, but I'll hide it from myself. And you have to keep me accountable since I'm going to be here all the time anyway. So
okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Heck
that
yeah.
works.
And I'll keep you accountable if you're ever staring at your phone with your glasses down by your nose like this. That's kind of how you.
How do I do that? No, please enlighten me, because.
Hold on, grab your glasses.
Oh my God. That's gonna be funny.
It's kind of like this, where you kind of like put them down here, and you're like.
First of all, the size of my nose, I can't do that.
You do.
I cannot put my glasses
like...
at the end of my. Did you see the size of that thing? This is just not true. Give me my glasses.
Kind of.
No.
Okay, put them on.
I can't. If I put them there, they don't. Come on. That thing is like 2 feet long. And my ears are not that big. Please. Not. No. Putting my foot down on that thing.
Okay, fine. Maybe you don't slide your glasses all the way down to the tip of your nose, but you do hold your phone out pretty far.
Well, that's because it's
Look
the thing is getting smaller and smaller. But
I know. Anytime I'm like, hey, have you seen this? And I'll aim my phone at you. I know that like first I have to find your glasses and then I have to stand like 10 feet away.
yeah, and it's not going to get any better, by the way. Just FYI.
Oh, it'll be great. I'm sorry. Am I bullying you a little bit too much today?
No, it's quite all right.
Okay.
But I'm not putting my glasses to the tip of my nose. Not Chuck Schumer. No, that's impossible. All right.
I forgot
enough
we were
with
an
my
audio
nose.
medium. I'm going to have to cut a lot of that out anyway. Oh, that's too bad.
Oh, yeah.
Or I'll just post this as a video on Spotify.
Yeah. And the
Better
people
idea.
will be able to see that you exaggerate because this is how I do it.
Okay, anyway, we should probably start getting to our guest, shouldn't we?
Yeah, because we're really in a silly mood. It's
are.
just FYI for everyone. It's in the middle of the afternoon, and we're a little punchy.
Yeah, a little punchy. Been working all morning, and I'm like, oh shoot, we have to shoot the intro. So here we are.
Here we are. So let's go to our guest.
Yes.
Who,
So our guest today is Jason Kalman, and Jason Kalman is half of Magni Kalman. So they're partner interior designers. Magni's been around since '88. But Jason Kalman's been around for quite a while. He's a brilliant interior designer. And something we're going to be talking about a lot with him is he has a very analytical sort of brain. He approaches things from a really sort of structured standpoint. While sometimes we'll have designers on here that are like leading with emotions and wanting to tell stories, he does have elements of that, but I found it really interesting just how sort of left-brained he is. So yeah, we're going to be chatting about that today, and he was just so charming to have on. We had him on a little bit ago. It was a rainy day in Los Angeles, which is nothing like it is today. It's gorgeous and sunny.
Today's gorgeous.
Yes, but so yeah, should we get to it?
Let's go.
Welcome to Clutter Bravado. We are here with Jason Kalman. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
It is
Thanks
a
for
rainy
having me.
day in Los Angeles today,
It is.
but you made it here.
Somehow, it's a little hectic out on the streets in Los Angeles when there's rain.
Usually.
But I made it, so I'm happy to be here with you guys.
Oh, that's great. We're happy to have you here. So, are you originally from Los Angeles? You're from California, but
California,
not LA.
but no, I'm from the Bay Area originally.
Okay.
So yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. San Jose. Grew up there. Yeah, and then went to design school in San Francisco and came down here afterwards.
You went to
FIDM in
Okay.
San Francisco. Yeah.
That's cool.
So
Nice.
yeah. But yeah, it's been 16, 17 years now here. So it feels like home.
Okay.
LA does. But,
Okay.
But yeah, all of my family's still in the Bay Area.
Is this where you imagined you would land?
Never. No.
Never.
No. I mean, there's this funny thing. If you talk to Angelinos that grew up in Los Angeles or Southern California in general, there's this big rivalry between Northern California and Southern California, but it's only one-sided, apparently. It's only that Northern California dislikes Southern California and Los Angeles. Because if you talk to anybody down here, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. We have no problem with you as a Northern California. But, yeah.
Here they're like San Francisco. That's up north, right? Where
Right.
San Francisco seems to be very much like, I think. I'm not gonna say it.
What?
Not gonna say it. But so I moved to San Francisco in '94.
Sure.
And I had a trip organized for my birthday, so a year later. And everybody up at the time was like, "You're gonna hate LA. You're gonna hate it down there. They're uneducated. There's no class. You just
Right.
don't even go." And so I showed up down here, and I'm from the south of France, so the weather was perfect for
Right.
me. The vibe was, I was like, I kind of like it here,
Yeah.
but I had to be like, no, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah. But yeah, then you come here and you're like, yeah, it's not so bad. I don't see what the problem is.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, the traffic's not great, but it's just as bad up there nowadays anyway. So.
Oh yeah,
True.
but it was a very funny rivalry.
Yeah.
Rivalry.
Yeah.
Rivalry.
You got
Yeah.
it. So was design your initial, the first thing that you wanted to go into? Or did you start off on a different path and land here?
Yeah, I mean, my path was definitely different. certainly interior design was never like something that I really was even aware of,
Okay.
growing up. I was into design, but not into, that sort of facet of design. I was exposed to design in different ways. My parents have a CNC machine shop
Oh.
that they've had for, what is it now, 35, 40 years maybe.
Oh, wow.
And so I was exposed to like more industrial design of things that they were producing for other people, motorcycle parts that were aesthetically interesting and beautiful, but, not necessarily functional. And so that's where I started learning about design and creating beauty and interest with the things that we own and touch and feel every day, but not with interiors. That came much later for me. So my path, I actually started out, given kind of my parents and my dad's background, I went into mechanical engineering.
Okay.
That was my first thing. Again, I think in the back of my mind, it was the same idea. Like, I want to do this to create things, but not necessarily as much on an aesthetic level, maybe at that point. But I got to this one course in mechanical engineering, which is kind of like the test for everybody as to whether they really want to do it. It's called Statics is the course. And I decided it wasn't for me.
Can you explain what that is?
I mean, I'll try to. I mean, if there's anybody that is watching this or listening to this that knows more,
major, so
is kind of the basics of like physics, right?
Okay.
Momentum and like pendulums and things like that. And but whereas with physics, you're doing it with like pure science and like pure math. Engineering solves the same things, but using like applied math.
Oh, interesting.
So it's not like as pure a form of solving an equation
Yeah.
or something like that. It was a long time ago, so
Yeah.
I don't remember all of it. But it didn't make any sense to me, like,
Okay.
that part of it. Like the pure math, I'm a pretty analytical
Okay.
person and approach design that way as well. So like that, the kind of applied portion of it didn't make any sense to me. So I went from there to, okay, I'm going to do something totally different, and went into finance.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then so I graduated, with finance degree, went into the business world, did some boring corporate finance stuff. And then, you do that for a while and you're just sitting behind a computer all day long, looking at numbers and things that weren't terribly interesting. And, you just start analyzing or thinking about life and like, is this really what my life is going to be? So, I sit down and I just think about when I was younger, what did I envision doing? And even through my time in, an undergraduate, I was trying to do design related things, whether it was, designing custom car parts. I briefly toyed with the idea of starting a line of watches, and designing the
Oh,
watches.
wow. Yeah.
So, different things revolving around design, but never thought that was like a career path for me. It was just like this side interest, I guess. So I just sat back and said, well, if I've got enough time to go back to school kind of and start over, what would that one thing be? And it, kind of landed with interior design because I was a bit more exposed to it by that point.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you landed in interior design, and then you're working with Kelly Wersler.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Tell me about what that bridge looked like for you.
Yeah. When I was just coming out of design school was when TV show Top Design was on.
Uh-huh.
And she happened to be a judge on it, right? And, I was really starting to hear about different designers who were, impactful to the industry and whatnot. But like she was such a presence and her work has such a presence. And one of the things my dad always said to me is like, well, if you can't be the best, you need to make sure you go and work for the best. So in my mind, when I moved to Los Angeles, like she was like the best designer in Los Angeles. And so, I got lucky, interviewed and got a job and worked there for, not for too long, but enough to get, a grasp on her work and work at that level.
How long ago was that now?
That was 16 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you literally just like came here, had it in mind, and you wanted to achieve that, and that is exactly what you did. Did you have any like fallback, like in case that doesn't work out, what else you were willing to do, or any?
No, my only fallback that I had was, I was down here. I moved without having the job.
Oh, wow.
So-
Okay. So you're a jump and
It
something
was
will
it
catch
was a
you.
jump.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Isn't that what everybody does, who moves to LA? I feel
Exactly.
I feel like it's people who come here, they're like, they land with there's no parachute.
Yeah. You're just trying to make it work any way that you can.
Yeah.
So, while I was there, I actually had another side job that I was working
Okay.
for another designer.
Okay, got it.
I'm not quite sure how that works out. It seems like a conflict of interest, but you just have to make it work.
You have to. You
Yeah.
have to. That really is an LA story. I mean,
Well,
that's
it's a
what a lot of
magical
us
city
do.
for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a magic. It's so big, and there's so many. I mean, it's a lot of work, but it's kind of a fun,
Yeah.
a fun place to do
And
that.
there's a lot of opportunity, and I mean, for this business, there's obviously a lot of business here for that. I mean, that was one of the reasons why I moved from the Bay Area to here, was especially for contemporary design and
Right.
modern design. There's much more of that in Los Angeles than San Francisco
Yeah.
or the surrounding areas, though that's changing. But
Was that always your like forte, your passion?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. I
okay.
mean, I think it was, again, influenced by, this kind of
Right.
industrial design that I saw. It was always more contemporary, lots of metal, plastics, things like that. And so that just leaned towards this more modern
Oh, okay.
take on design.
Yeah. So that's actually what I wanted to get into next. Your analytical mind is so strong, and that's really what you were leading with for so much of the earlier part of your life. And then jumping to Los Angeles, you are suddenly inviting yourself into a more artistic and creative space. Do you feel that there was any of the creative and artistic side of being in finance or in industrial design?
Sure. I mean, any of that takes creativity.
Yeah.
It's, I guess, maybe different. It's not like pure art, which part of this, what we're doing in interior design or furniture design is more of like art for art's sake. So yeah, I mean, I think that was part of it. But like for me, it's actually there's more effort that I have to make to tap into the right brain side.
Okay.
Right. So I find that I have to do things or put myself in a situation where I'm not allowed to analyze as much. And that helps to open up those just pure creative, like neural pathways.
How
Right?
does that look like?
What does it look like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's a lot of times I find that I do my best thinking when either I'm listening to music that I can just kind of dive into and puts me into like a vibe. We'll
What's
say.
your genre?
For that, it's hip hop mostly.
Really?
Yeah,
Nice. Yeah.
That for some reason, I don't know what it is, the bravado or whatever,
Yeah.
it just puts me in a mind space where I think about design. In
You
a
just
different
land
way.
in some confidence,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
I,
think
like
maybe
that.
that's what
I
it
like
is.
that. Yeah.
But outside of that, it's like exercising.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm big on cycling, running. Like at some point, you're not thinking about anything other than just your legs moving, and that allows my mind to stop analyzing everything else that I'm doing.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that repetitive like cycling and like running, it turns into a meditation that
Yeah,
way.
exactly.
I understand that. I could never. I could never. I'm someone whenever I want to get into a creative space, like I practice yoga, I teach yoga. And I was just saying today, like I took a Pilates class and I noticed that like moving really slowly and with so much intention,
Sure.
it shut everything off. So it allowed me to just kind of like find a moment of calm there, which allows me to like sort of sort things out, because I'm always in that creative, like new ideas are popping in all
Right.
the time. And I'm thinking of how, I mean, especially with a lot of the things we're doing to prepare for modernism,
Right.
for the modernism show, my brain is all over the place with like, oh, we could do this. Oh, we could do this. And sometimes I need to just turn that off for a second and just breathe.
Yeah.
You know, that's so
a
interesting how,
challenge.
yeah,
Yeah.
the differences of the creative process. And I like too that while sometimes when we talk about art, we think of visual art and painting and these very sort of emotionally driven
Right.
expressions, when your creativity in design is really a lot more about function,
Right.
and how something could be done differently. You blend architecture and interiors incredibly well.
Thank you. I try.
The outside and the inside are very seamless.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your process when it comes to blending those things, where you have the structure and the function of the architecture of the home, and then also the comfort and the experience of living in it.
Right. So yeah, I mean, we're blessed that we work with, you know, some of the best architects, you know, certainly in the United States. Because of that, we feel like it's our duty to honor what they're also creating. You know, often most of our projects are ground up.
Okay.
So we don't do, I mean, we do remodels, but most of the time we're doing ground up projects. I'd say probably 80% of our projects are ground up.
Wow.
And so generally speaking, an architect's brought in first, and they have a vision, right, for the home. And we try to do our best to not impede on that vision. James Magny, my business partner, says this a lot. For us, it's a doctor-nurse relationship between us and the architect. And any good surgeon will say, like, they're only as good as their nurses, right? So we take that to heart. We study what they're doing. We sit down with them, try to understand what their intent is with the structure that they've created, usually before we're involved. And then we take that and try to focus on the sort of micro details that make it very successful in the end, right? Because architects usually are thinking on a more macro scale, and the interior designers are thinking about how are the people that are living here really using the space.
Yeah.
And so that's obviously our focus. And so part of our thing is we're big on what we call programming.
Okay.
And for us, or just in general, that's like understanding what is the purpose of or function of any room or the building in general for the client or whoever the users are going to be. And so that's a big part of our process, is the programming phase of it. And so we have a 20, 30 page questionnaire that we ask clients before we start anything on the project, that goes into very high level questions and then very, you know, minutia based questions. You know, we want to know what time they get up in the morning, what's their routine look like, you know, from the time they wake up until they go to bed at night. How often are they cooking in the home versus going out, and what does entertaining look like to them? Because entertaining or formal versus casual can look like one thing to one person, something totally different to
Absolutely,
another.
yeah.
So it's figuring out all of those things to really understand, okay, do we have the function down? And then we can go into the creative sort of visual aspect of it.
Yeah. That's a really, really smart way of getting started with it. It's like asking those detailed questions.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of designers that have come on here that are talking about telling the story of a home and telling the story of the family that may live there. And for you, it's really like, okay, let's find out exactly what the markers of what it's like to live in a home for you looks like.
Yeah.
That's really brilliant.
Yeah.
I really like that.
I mean, because it's something we say, it's like, it doesn't do us any good to know you 2 years down the road. We need to know you and your home and how you live, like, from day one.
Yeah.
That
absolutely.
way everybody's, I mean, again, analytical. Everybody's designing as efficiently as possible, right?
Yeah.
You know, we're not wasting time giving you as a client ideas that you're not interested in or don't work for how you're going to use the house.
Is that something that the architects are using as well?
Yeah, I mean, they use a similar, you know, every office is different, of course, but they use the same sort of idea.
Yeah, that's I really love that, because, and we've talked about it on here quite a bit, but the most important thing about interior design to me is living in it.
Yeah, that's what you do there, right?
It's where you live.
Yeah.
You know, like Laurent has talked about how there are a couple of chairs here that are his perfect meditation chairs that allow him to feel like comfortable and supported, but also that you can just like sort of relax into without falling asleep in, right?
Yeah.
Right. No, that's yeah. I'm not gonna say that I don't occasionally
fall asleep in it. Yeah. But what I find really interesting about design, like interior design, and furnishing a home is that you are working with the structure of the house as well. You're working with how much light is coming through,
Right.
how much light you need to add in, and also how whoever's going to live there, like whether they're able to feel cozy with a big burst of natural light, or if they really want something to be a little bit darker, a little bit more quiet. So give me some examples of like how you would approach something differently for someone that maybe like wakes up early in the morning versus someone who's a little bit more of a night owl, for example.
Yeah, well, and especially if let's say there's two people living in the same house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're on different sort of schedules. It's putting, like for example, in a bedroom,
Okay.
right? And you have one that's a night owl and one that's an early riser. You need to separate the nodes between sleeping and whatever else somebody might do in a bedroom. A lot of people watch TV, in their suite. So it would be having, a separation of space that you physically close off. So that one could be dark, quiet, and the other could still be doing whatever they want to do when they're staying.
A
up
marriage
late at night.
counselor works too for that.
Well, that's part of what we do is this job is part psychologist. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, actually.
Yeah.
That your home can be your therapist sometimes.
But
if it does that, we did a good job, I guess. Yeah.
it's we talked about that a little bit in the sense that in the world that where technology's obviously taking over
Sure.
and be it for couples or for kids and how much we can have an impact
Right.
on regulating that kind of impact, TV, social media,
Sure.
and putting a bookcase in a kid's room, for example,
Right.
where I'm like, put a bookcase there.
Yeah.
Just put books in the room.
Right.
It's gonna, and a chair.
Yeah.
It's gonna
They might
probably help if you have them read.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah, they might pick one up if it's there.
exactly,
Yes,
if it's
exactly,
there. And so it was
exactly.
interesting because we had long conversation on how much we can try to have mitigate a little bit of all that
Yeah.
the night owl versus
Yeah.
the morning routine and sports, meditation, reading,
Yeah.
things like that. Where
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's always a challenge. And it's like anything else when you're living or in a relationship with two people, like that's a challenge. So when you're designing for two people that are on different schedules or have different ideas, that's always a challenge in and of itself. But yeah, but it's interesting. I mean, just talking about reading and technology, it's interesting how things have changed, and we're slowly seeing shifts in just even how we're designing spaces as technology has become more prevalent. I mean, as designers, you understand, right? With lighting, for example, you want kind of a hierarchy of lights. You'll have your recessed, possibly, then you've got table lamps, floor lamps, things like that, reading lamps. And we had a younger client, and we were proposing to do reading lamps, by their sofas so that they could read a book. And they said, we don't need those. I
Right.
said, what do you mean? They said, we don't read books. We read everything on a device at this point. And then it's like, well, then you're just doing it just for aesthetics case, right?
Yeah.
It's not doesn't serve any function really.
Right.
So it's interesting to see how things are changing as, technology just keep moving along.
So I have
Yeah.
a question, because we talked about that. How much do we try to impact? Like, client tells you, "I'm not reading books."
Right.
My instant reaction would be like, "This is stupid. I'm going to buy you a book."
Right. yeah.
I'm going to put a book on the coffee table,
Right.
and I'm like, how much do you let the client be, and how much do you try to influence?
I mean, I think, as that example, right, there's another reason for the reading lamp, and it's not just to read by, it's again having lower levels of
Right.
light that are closer to the person. So you try to influence them from that standpoint. But, something we always say is we're not designing these
Right.
houses for us. It's for them, right? We already have a
Uh-huh.
house. I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for you. So, if that's something that they're adamant that they don't want,
Uh-huh.
we'll figure out some other way of getting, the lighting into the space.
I'm like, what do you mean you don't cook at home?
Right.
You
yeah.
better cook at home.
Yeah.
That's really funny. You tend to work in the very modern style. That's really kind of what your firm is a little bit known for, but you've
Yeah.
been pulling in some pieces and some inspiration from the past. So tell me about how the modern look right now is sort of evolving using things that might be now, I guess, not obsolete, but like they're using the reading lamps, using the big, beautiful bookcases and spaces that are to entertain, not just to watch television.
Right.
Like, tell me about how that flows together for you.
Well, I mean, I think one of the things we often hear about modern design is, when people see these spec houses in Los Angeles, is just how cold it is.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a warm and inviting space. And I think for us, one of the things we've always been good at is ensuring that that isn't the case with our work, right? And there's a variety of ways you can do that, whether it's through the materials that you're choosing, fabrics, the furniture that you're selecting. And so we're always trying to tread a fine line of making sure it still feels quite modern and contemporary, if that's the program for the client, right? But that doesn't feel cold and sterile. And so, part of that for us is making it so that it seems like clients have been collecting these things over time, even though oftentimes they're buying it all in, the span of a year, maybe 2 years, while they're working with us, while we're curating the furniture. And so for us, and for me especially, that means including pieces that have some patina, that have some provenance of age and from different eras, rather than just doing everything from, modern showrooms that, would be easy, but it doesn't make it as compelling of an interior, I think. Yeah.
And art too. Your art is, you're very known for that. And you have an aesthetic that's very strong.
Yeah. Art is obviously a big part of our work. You were talking about earlier, how do we blend with the architecture? And I think a lot of that is setting up the interior architecture. And a lot of what we're doing is setting up the interior architecture for strong art programs. It's making sure you've got clear vantage points to art, and you've got the proper threshold to look at a large piece of art. And so it's creating and modifying interior architecture where we can to make sure that happens.
You work with collectors. Obviously, a lot of your clients are collectors, but will you also influence their collection?
Yeah, we've been lucky that we've had quite a few already big collectors that have come to us. We've worked with an art curator for a long time, who's worked on a lot of the collections in our homes. He's obviously influenced our clients a great deal. But there are also instances where we're not working with a curator and they're coming to us having never collected anything of real significance, right? And that's an exciting process for us. It's an educational process. And that's always what we find the most fulfilling projects for us are the ones where the clients want to be educated and understand that the education process is a big part of the interior design that we're doing. Because some clients, they don't want that. They just want you just to do the work. They don't want to hear about why this is this way and why it's the other way. And while those are still great projects, it's just not, you don't get the connection necessarily with the client and with the end product as you do when they're part of being educated.
So I want to shift a little bit, because in looking up Magni Kalman design, you're not really the face of Magni Kalman design. The two of you work really well together as partners. Yeah. And I find that a lot of your work, and like sometimes you'll see somebody's like Instagram that's like huge and all this stuff, and your Instagram is incredible, but then there'll be like the personality first, and I feel like you really work from the work first. Yeah.
I think, I came into it as a partner of a firm that was already well established.
Yeah.
Right? So there's always that aspect to it.
Yeah.
And, James is obviously a brilliant designer, great mentor. And he's got a big personality.
He does. Yeah. We had him on here very briefly, but we'll have him on again.
Yeah. We're, as you probably have seen already, we're two very different personality types.
Very different. Yeah.
Which again, that works well in a partnership, right? Because you can't have everybody that needs to be in front of the camera all the time. I suppose you could, but so that's a big part of it. I've always been the type where whatever I'm doing, I let the work speak for itself.
Yeah.
Whether it's interior design or any other thing that I was doing, or sports or anything like that, it was always about the performance was the number one thing. Letting people know, that I was the one doing it, or, I was the one who scored a touchdown. I'm going to do a touchdown dance. That was never my thing, right? I just wanted to let the work speak for itself.
Yeah.
And so that's how I approach it. It's probably something I need to work on a little bit better. But,
no, I think that it's actually really beautiful, because when I look you up, I see your work, and I think that that's really incredible.
Well, thank you.
And also your work really does speak for itself. It's spectacular.
Yeah.
Very good at what
thank
you do.
you. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you may already know we have a new book coming out.
Yes.
So obviously part of that's my first book as the firm.
Oh, is it?
The first one was
good.
just with Jim.
Okay.
So it's I'm part of this book, and so that's obviously part of it is being more forward facing because of that.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're gonna have a book tour. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
That'll be
I'm
great.
About.
looking forward to it. So, but it's a change. It's not what
Right.
Yeah.
I'm doing all the time.
Is this the first podcast that you've done?
I did another one a while back.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Amazing.
First one on video.
Okay.
The other one was just vocals. So.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
when is the book due?
It's slated to come out in June.
Okay.
Yeah. So the art of modern design, kind of all the things we've touched on already. Art being a big part of our work. That's a big focus of the book itself. So. Yeah, and there's obviously the furniture line as well, Magni Home Collection, which we both contribute to, and that's for us. That's just another aspect of art, right?
Right.
There we see them as little functional sculptures, right? So
Yeah.
we have a chapter in the book on the collection itself and kind of creating that.
How long has it been the Magni Home?
Oh, good question. I think it was 98, I think
Okay,
is when Jim
yeah.
founded it. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's, as many designers start their lines, it's, you see, you're looking for things in the market that fit your project. You don't find the perfect thing, so then you just start to create from there. And that's still a lot of how the line continues to this day is, we'll custom make pieces for projects, and then we see that it fits really well into the collection as a whole. So then it gets introduced as part of the collection.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've been done also for cast glass, right? You that was a big part of.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
That still is. I guess,
Still is. Big part of it. It's obviously become quite popular. There's lots
Yeah.
of lines that are doing cast glass now, but it's a beautiful material. We love working with it. It's got its own challenges, but. We created the Carmel sconce, which is probably one of our biggest selling pieces. And it's, just the purity is all you see is the cast glass.
Yeah.
And so that's, it's a great material that we like working with.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I really like the collection. We had something from the
We had a
collection
table.
here. We had a
little
table from
side
the
Right.
table
yeah.
for a
Yeah,
while.
It was
yeah,
here for a while.
Yeah.
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 Big fan.
Yeah.
So let's wrap it up, because I know you have a very busy day ahead of you.
All right.
So there are 3 questions that we ask all of our guests.
Okay.
The first question is, what is the messiest place in your home?
Well, that's hard. I'm not a messy person in general.
Okay.
My wife is also, she's even less messy than I
Oh
am.
my gosh. Okay.
So it's pretty spotless most of the time, but I would say our office space at home is
Okay.
the messiest, because it's kind of like the catch-all space. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
goes in there except for us. So like if we've got extra things lying around, they just go in there. So the rest of the space is more or less pristine, or as pristine as we can have it.
Nice.
Most of the time.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Second question. What is your favorite place, either in your home or in a home that you've designed?
Well, I guess I'll tell you my home first. I'll give you both. In my home, my favorite place is our living room space. We finished it. We designed it for ourselves and finished it about what year is it now? It's been almost 4 years now.
Okay.
And so one of the things that I had done for the space, or the architecture in general, was I did all these kind of slot windows on the front and side facades of it. And for me, it did a variety of things that kind of added a level of privacy. without having to have drapes and things like that. But it also creates these really beautiful shadow play in the space. And so like living room, kind of as the sun is setting or just before, is kind of really magical light that's in there. So that's my favorite space at home. And then I think my favorite space I've designed is interesting because it's not typical of our work at all.
Okay.
So we did a home in Atherton with Landry Design Group.
Okay.
Great architects that we love working with. And it's a very classical French home. It's kind of formal French exterior. And then on the inside, clients wanted to go with us because they didn't want it to be so classical. They wanted to be a little more restrained and pared back. And so it has a lot of classical and Art Deco touches to the house, but it also allowed for this layering that we don't often get to do because we're doing more minimalistic interiors. And so the library in that home is it's high gloss eucalyptus paneling, polished stainless steel inlay, beautiful pinwheel two-tone oak floors with amazing art and some wonderful antiques that we bought in Paris, and mixed in with some contemporary pieces. So it's just this really lovely mix of things there that I think just ended up wonderful in the end.
That's gorgeous. Is that on your website? Can I go snoop around?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go look at it because that sounds absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and it's dark and it's moody, so it's just the antithesis kind of what I said about my home. It's you've got a vibe going on in that room.
Oh, I love that. I'm gonna tag that specifically so that anyone who's watching this is able to find it right away.
Nice.
Cool. Oh my gosh. Okay. Last question.
All right.
When you walk into a space, what is the first thing that you notice?
I mean, I think, in general, touching on it, and it's such a big part of our work and interior design in general, is just the light that's in a space. If you would walked into this room any other day other than today, I'm sure it's magnificent because of the windows. And again, a lot of what we're doing is trying to work with the architecture and so we're always looking for ways to introduce these beautiful shadow moments, light moments into our spaces. And so that's usually what stands out to me first. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, then, again, the analytical mind starts looking at little details because that's such a big part of our work, too, is the detail and how things get finished, and because you can't hide anything in modern work.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I go to after that.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Amazing. So we look forward to your book. I cannot wait.
Yeah.
So that'll be in June.
June comes out towards the end of June. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And you have a couple of publications that are coming out, or just
well, we were just out on the cover of Lux magazine with their new rebranded and redesigned cover, so we were really proud to be there. And then we've got some exciting publications coming out later this year as well.
Amazing. Well, we will keep an eye out for it. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come here on such a rainy Wednesday afternoon.
That's all right. Again, Northern California, I love the rain. So it's a great change.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you both.